I got it.
Oh, okay. So we'll begin with the Heart Sutra in English, beginning on page 2. Thus I have heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage trained who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are born and unceasing. They are not impure or pure, they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomenon. There is no quality of sight, and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, good is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata, Om Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi, and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One has said this, the Venerable Shariputra, and the Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoice and praise the words of the Blessed One. Lamadang Gambo Jesun Jantel Yamahasarabo Gani Mudrodini Nitanam Dasabe Shariye Damun Jisim Sikhe Yiki Tukar Vansen Andan Sire Suran Mare Om Aravasanati. Om Aravasanati. Om Aravasanati. Seden Chiti Keravuseti. Tangutimum Mamarasene. Kadante Jyungutupai. Continue with the short mandala offering on page 16. Saji Buddhi Doshin Mesoja Shirami Shirama Sangye Shirumi Uvahi Dokun Manda Chima Chapasho Jetsun Lama Namha Jinam Ki Chiru Kala Jinsi Jina Sande Lindezma Sami Chigi Chama Guso Yedam Guru Radhana Vadhana Yataya Refuge prayer on page 22. Sanjay Chodam Sohi Chodam Chanchu Badu Dani Kasuchi Tahi Chinchen Jive Sonampi Chorwa Benje Sanjay Ruparsho Sanjay Chodam Sohi Chodam Chanchu Badu Dani Kasuchi Tahi Chinchen Jive Sonampi Trova Benje Sanjay Ruparsho Sanjay Chodam Sohi Chodam Chachu Badu Dani Kasuchi Dagi Chinyan Jive Sonampi Trova Benje Sanjay Ruparsho.
거기 있어요.
옆으로.
대나는
Yes.
자기를 지나 대단다 대동되나 그게 뜻을 게 있나?
3인 보고 같이 만나.
I'm not sure. We can look and see. Sometimes it will tell us. Other times it doesn't very well.
관심 없이. 나는 대원 직설 하는 게 연말.
네. 안에
It's not giving me an indication right now. I'll have an indication how many are watching.
아니.
Sorry.
오케이. 나도 이 가제 일로 팀어지마도 줘야 말아. 진짜 팀어지마도 줘야 말아.
다른 스레니 바이.
나 팀어니와들아. 그래서 지금 그냥 가도 돼. 얘네 단들이 보모도 사바 있어래. 그 사바를 해도. 아니 게 로저 치지만 대시 맞아 보나. 콘소 이 거치도 또 시험으로. 좋아. tene chidi zumbala ya nga zo tanda lojong tsigi ma shuya resi chida. Ani ko tenda di saba di chido tsikashi ji ma shuka mere chasi nga zo tanda lojong tsigi ma di ya thomsar le yede. Ani ya konzolo lamsan di pa deje jab sabi na ani dibu sime do sirwa. Ani tanda dudu chiji ma deje shuwi na ani irba tanga zo gyawar buchingi sung dui chimboje. Ani nga zo nangpa sanje begi chwe di dawa tinchung da chwe tsewa me ba asitine digi nal duji. Ani deshi gyunga yores. Ani dingi ma to duji shugi yinsi tangpo. Ani chwe tsewa me ba se adi karisigi yores na ani shenye shidan je bale tokpa as. Tindi sigi yores. cheba tsewa meba sadi nga zo namba sanjibe chebe de cheba tsewa meba yisigi yores cheba tsewa meba sadi kante resi na ani shenyo shidan jeba le toba che ta di shenla pa shenla ya shen dunga la jaya shenla nyoba che ya teb tsuyo do ne te ma yinpa chigi ani leji le ya chuya chi le ya ani shenyo shidan jeba le toba sigi resi ta shenyo shidan jeba sadi karesi na shenyo che de karesi na ani lunga ki le dun 류기 안에 레숨 나기 레시 tinde지게 안에 신은 너버지게 요레스 아니 류고네 소주바 마진바 렘바 메상바 줘바 tinde고네 신은 너버지 나고는 참마 직수 tinde고네 신은 너버지게 요레스 개 요야데 가르레스나 아니 시 삼바데 아니 낙심 느심 록다 안 딘데기 왕게 아니 류마게 레디게 튕게 요레스 이게 낙심 느심 록다티게 밤해버세비나 안 류마게 레담제 바랑싱기 메바차도야지레스 안 낙심 세야데 간데지레스나 낙심 세야데 간데지레스나 셴라야 아니 지 균노롱제다 셴 야보여와 대조라야 파차네 아니 대조 가라 중나 대코에 잡아 가라 중나 마참레리 야바요 가요로 제나 딘데성성들이야 낙심스기 요레스 뇌심스야데 아니 셴라야 메시베 차도게 셴라 반네바제야 무슈 가run게 반네바제야 들이야 뇌심스기 요레스 아니 다 디니 간데스 디니 용세시디 가레스나 로다네 용거 요레스 로다디 가레스나 아니 지당 말한조 어떤 데는 맞지 주자.
So we really go through this actual teachings of 8 virtues of training the mind. And it is, I also feel that it's important to, before we begin with that, we will go through a little introduction of the introduction of this teachings of 8 verses the training of the mind. So here, the actual practice of this 8 verses of training the mind is actually designed towards upholding the the correct view, and engaging in correct conduct. So this is what is meant by 8 verses of training the mind. As His Holiness always, whenever he is given the opportunity to introduce Buddhism or the Buddha Dharma, he will always begin with giving the introductions of the views, or the correct views. In other words, dependent originations based on engaging in correct conduct or non-violence way of life. That is what is meant by correct conduct. And if we were to sum up all the teachings of the Buddha can be encapsulated within these two, the correct view and the non-violence way of life, which is conduct, the virtuous conduct. So now, when one is able to understand this too, then one will be refrained from engaging in all kinds of negativities, negative actions that we are always engaging with, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We constantly engaging in negative deeds of body, speech, and mind in our day-to-day life. If you would, as we mentioned earlier, with knowingly or unknowingly. So this teachings is actually designed to how we can transform our mind, how we can train our mind, in a sense that how can we really refrain ourselves from engaging in those negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind. So when it comes to the negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind, now, as you are all familiar with, it is 3 negative deeds of the body, 4 speech, and the 3 mental negative activities. So all of this negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind is actually coming into being from our negative mind, negative way of thinking, our motivations, such as covetousness, and harmful intentions. And those harmful intentions are coming into being from wrong views. The wrong views act as a primary cause of giving rise to our negative thoughts and emotions. And our negative thoughts and emotions then produces all the negative actions of the body and speech. So it is therefore this particular teaching, the subject matter that we are dealing with, is designed for how we can actually train our mind to refrain ourselves from those negative actions of the body and speech, and primarily, particularly, how can we address our negative emotions and negative motivations, and how we can eradicate this wrong views that we are upholding. And with this with having this position, having this negative, the wrong views within one's stream of being, which then give rise to all kinds of negative emotions and negative motivations. So therefore, it is by engaging in such teachings, practicing, one will be able to refrain oneself from engaging in all those negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind.
미기 주분 근수dim스네 티 먼저 남발 차신 당복이 숭야데 데레스 아니 디 디기도 숨부이나 아니 신라 체와세데 용어말 신라 반네바 기야세데 아니 데네 도주고 요레스 디네 바 데바 숭샤이나 신라 네바 기야세데 데네 용어말레스 신라야 체와 마체비나 아니 체치만 남소다 아니 야보 요야다 아장자래 아니 제 다래 이나야 수수 지조가야 미 약보지다 아니 군기 가보치서지 아니 자 이바레스.
So it is this engagement of the practice of refraining oneself from negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind will really shape our life, will really bring our life meaningful as this life as well as our future life. And even in this life, with such practice of refraining oneself from engaging with negative deeds of the body, speech, and mind, one will have a meaningful life and purposeful life.
이 나라도 참말로 통주래다. 가서 그래. 지도가나야 밀어봐 마트버지 되게 그 간사 수이나 대지 마지버지 되게 괜찮다. 아니 신다리야 tum부육이 되버지 있나 코카도 있나 지 semba지버지 돼야 돼. 나라도 통주 좀 되게 잘했어.
So as we all know that if someone who is being not very friendly with other, people in your surrounding, and such person will always become, wherever he or she goes, will become uncomfortable. Why this is happening? Why one is causing this discomfort for oneself, to oneself? Why this is happening? It's because one is unable to understand the importance of refraining from engaging negative deeds of body, speech, and mind.
대가나야 아니 따와 띵충사래. 따와 띵충사래 간데지레스나 아니 가서 그래. 최탐지스는다 나랑조라 낭대야기 시카레다 가리미나 나랑조라야 비네츠지 가서 그래. 딱바템보다 속도보다 그런 ram은의 유버지 낭기 열에도 화 수술을 나야 돼주 컨트롤 패닝은 나와나 신지 속도도지 열에서나 안 자원이네 요 말했어. 아니 대 매단 가르스나 아니 지 뭐버리 탐지 귤러진네 떼고 개고게 탐지 아니 귤러진네 제보 중원에 맞아 지게 코로나라면은 저 도도지 좀 된지 자원이네 요 말했어. 귤러땡기 그랬다. 대마 얘기를 담다 아니 코로나 뚜둑체네 수조대 파조를 떼고 파조를 수조를 떼고 되게 뚜둑 잔잔체네 맞아 지게 아니 배디 코로나 속도가 라면을 두고 되지 요 말했어. 될래야 따와 띵중에 따와서 그랬어.
So this refraining from those negative conduct or negative actions of the body, speech, and mind can take place if one understands the philosophical point or viewpoint of dependent originations. By understanding these dependent originations, one will come to understand that how things actually exist, how things are coming into existence, how things come into existence. It is based on the understanding of these dependent originations. One will have a firm understanding of everything that we see, everything that appears to us, everything that exists is coming into being by depending on its own causes and conditions, or depending upon its own parts dependent upon whole, and wholes dependent upon parts. With this understanding, one will then be able to conclude that everything that exists are not independent. It is not solidly existence. So everything that exists are dependent upon each other, dependent upon others. So with this understanding, will then eventually will enables us to understand how every one of us are dependent upon each other. Well, none of us are actually exist independently or solidly. With this, such way of shaping our mind will automatically refrain ourselves from engaging in negative deeds.
어디저기 아니 견제기 된중다 된는다 배 된중에서 로정체 또지 야고 차선나 말한저 생각나게 단진디 단진다 진진에서래야 또지 숙초를 증제에서 마 또지 숙충을 증선나 안 될라 땜바게 되자시 단지야도 그러와 뭐부터 저를 되네 단진으로 그 왕기 중에 되자시 단테서 용으로지 되자 대선 시단테서 ngaranzo singi nazata waje sonde zambalaya tezopa shu chungre da mewa dosuna nazata masuma chungre da mewa dosuna ngaranzo la ya dunge kiya de nyungre du gres ngaranzo tanda dunge soge de chilo ne meba jene na singi na ge deja da shedan ni ge soyong tenyang pa zawa tuksa de timula tugu yuwa de ta namba sanje ge shedan ge zore de deres.
So when we come to understand the dependent originations of cause and effect, and dependent originations of depending upon its parts and components, and everything that exists are coming into being depending upon other factors. When one is able to understand this view, the view of dependent originations, then one will be able to reduce one's grasping at atonalism and grasping at absolutism. So with reducing this grasping at atonalism and absolutism will then reduces our sufferings, because all the sufferings or discomforts that we are experiencing are all coming into being from one's own mind, one's way of thinking, and our way of thinking or mistaken way of thinking are coming into being from what we call is ignorance. The ignorance is the root cause of all this, negative thoughts and emotions, which enables us to, which forcefully, force us to engage in negative deeds, which then give rise to sufferings. So when you look at it, when you understand this, and suffering that we have, what we experience our day-to-day life, is nothing but creation of our own mind.
어딘데 인디 zambalaya 되는 나란조 다 미다집에 좋아 소자 탐지 아니 가서 그래 텐데기 뉴모 도송한 게 아니 코발라 참 아니 동네 용대와 직보이마 나란조 조거리도 심지 탐지 대화되게 직보이마 동네 매되게 직보이마 아니 가서 그래 대화 중요하게 도난 여바지 되지 아니 신에 아니 가서 그래 소라야 소소라야 지 동네 중단데 삼 대지를 신지 탐지를 삼네 아니 가서 그래 다 신지 탐지게 되지 아니 찬주그 심기네 와 심지 탐지게 제도 지 찬주그 심기 되게 전에 아니 신빙 성로 경우도 아니 다시 냠지에서네 랑라 대화되나 삼상의 성로대 파토로 신심지 담제라야 대화되나 삼상의 성로지게 아니 신심지 담제 동네단 제나 대화다 되나 삼상의 성로지게네 디네치네야 숙체를 체리 용해야 되려야 아니 잔주의 심색이 요랬어.
So in sentient beings, including human beings, we're all revolving or wandering within this separate existence. And root cause of our revolvement within this cyclic existence is three poisons of our mind: ignorance, hatred, attachment. And those are the three, what we call as the three poisons of minds. And this becomes a cause of all our sufferings of human beings, suffering of all other sentient beings, in other words. If you think very carefully, normally we are not being able to think in this way because we think of our own happiness and overcoming of our own suffering. That is center of our mind. But if one is able to think very carefully, just as we ourselves long to achieve happiness and overcome sufferings, so too all other sentient beings has a similar desire to overcome suffering and achieve happiness. And just as we have a right to achieve happiness, and so too all other sentient beings have a right to achieve happiness. With this kind of practice, one will be able to enhance and develop our sense of caring and sense of connectedness with other sentient beings. And this kind of caring will become what we call unconditional caring or unconditional love for other beings. And this can be done on the basis of understanding, first of all, one's own suffering. One must understand and identify. Sometimes there are many subtle sufferings, and this as a suffering, but we embrace, although that one is suffering because of our way of thinking, but we're still, embracing those subtle way of thinking and cultivating those motivations. So it is for this, one should always understand and remain the focus inwardly to understand and identify one's own sufferings, and then try to get rid of these sufferings. With this experiencing of this, with one's own experience, one can then relate this to other sentient beings. So then, why that I should pray and engage in practice to really to overcome my own suffering only, but also may I cultivate from the depth of my heart the beings. And when one is cultivate such motivations, and then you are actually cultivating a motivation, what is called equalizing self and equalizing and exchanging self with others.
chanjusim ani kiya chedo ani sanji ki sungma buji sungsha yore de tamje ani chanjusim majiba kiba jiya kiba ani menyamba kongne kondo piya jiya tanga shata res ani ta 대난에 아니 시럽이 뒤졌나니 아니 대담지 닝부수 뒤샤네 아니 좀 야게 담나 망부지 제산jo 되줄어야 아니 로종식이었어 로종들래야다 로종 뒤좀마다 로종 천자콜로 아니 로종 님에외세 어디에 망부지 유변안에 다 나란도 단다 마셔야 돼 아니 로종 찌게 말해 좋아 로종 찌게 말레스 아니 로종 세대 가르스나 셈나 다트세기를 셈나 정다트네 가르치 셈 가와 정거르스나 가서래 단단 가란쪽에 랑 진진기 셈데 봐 도즈 숙체래다 신 진진기 신라야 진진기 삼로데 도즈 숙침부스네 안 가능성네 디니베데지 오늘 전에 제도가 전주스면념을 제도가 된대질이야 교리하게 제도 아니 순샤도 되죠 아니 로종식이래 로종으로 왔다 돼 된대질이야 아니 그래 이도 또 있어요 아니 로종식이 뭐식이래스
As we all know, there are numerous teachings. The teachings are teachings given by the Buddha, innumerable teachings, in other words, say, given by the Buddha. But if we were to, extract the essence of the teachings of the Buddha, of all the can be extracted, as the teachings on cultivating bodhicitta. Sorry. And either the teachings, the teachings are given to cultivate bodhicittas that has not been arisen in one's mind, one's stream of being, or the Buddha's teaching will be directed towards preservation of the bodhicitta that has already been arisen within one's stream of beings. Or Buddha's teachings will be given directed towards enhancement or the further flourishment of the teachings bodhicitta that has already been arisen within one's stream of beings. So this is the essence of the teachings of the Buddha, cultivating bodhicitta. And it is also the essence, which is also the root cause of our own ultimate happiness. With such cultivation, it is such a wonderful quality that bodhicitta has. Even just by thinking about this bodhicitta, although one may have not cultivated this bodhicitta, it is not arising within one's mind. When one think about, when one is endeavoring to engage in such practice, having a motivation genuine motivation of engaging in such practice will give you a peace of mind. It will really give you the serenity that you experience is unexpected, it is inexpressible. So therefore, what we call the teachings on the trainings of the mind is all about how do we practice ourselves to reduce our self-cherishing mind and improving and enhancing the cherishing for the welfare of other sentient beings. This is all about the teachings of the training the mind. In other words, all the teachings of the Buddha, it's a training of our mind. It is directed towards how do we train our mind, how do we really, shape our mind, and how do we improve ourselves, how do we improve ourselves, body, with the actions of the body, speech, and mind on a day-to-day basis. It is for this. There are many teachings what are known as training our mind, training the mind, such as the 7-point, the training, mind training teachings, and the mind trainings of the weapon of wheel of weapon.
Wheel of sharp
Well,
weapons.
What's that?
Wheel of sharp weapons.
Yeah, wheel of sharp weapons. That's good. Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Wheel of sharp weapons, and then mind trainings of the rays of the sun. And there are many others. There are, in fact, there is it is translated as footnote. As one of the great, as you all know, that His Holiness Translator has actually stated that there are more than 100 teachings on lojong given by the great. So there are many others. But so today, the teachings that we are actually focusing here is 8 verses for the training of the mind, which is again here directed towards how do we reduce our self-cherishing mind and how do we increase and train ourselves to the cherishing of the wealth of other sentient beings.
아가리 거랑도 단다 롬니 지야데 로전 세계 마세데 기실 랑담바기 코랑기 자주 생기 로장 코랑기 유를 차상 다신 냠지 로께 아니 대제라 신에 로전 세계 마 송산 요지레스 대마도 지금 공기 지 닝아 개버도 저 닝아 디버나시 님보체네 영야다 된지 제도 제샤버 자원이네 말았어.
So all this, the teachings that we find that we're dealing with, we're discussing with 8 verses of training the mind, written by Geshe Langre Tangpa. It's not something that he just, wanted to write some poem, or it is not like a poetic writing. Rather, it is experiential knowledge. Whatever the practice that he has done an experience that he has gained out of this practice is written in word.
아니 나랑 속에 지당 가서 그래. 디 로존 시제만 뒤에인데 다 지다다 마스나야 통벌레 살았어.
So 8 verses of the training of mind, although it is only 8 verses, it is a rather short teaching, but normally, traditionally, this teaching is said to be advanced teachings.
제디 고림지 제위나 아니 당보 아니 로종 된도 마티 엔데지라 로종 시제 마티 근데 제비는 또지 야고 있어래 단다 디나라 진주나라야다 다시 냠진데서 지구야기 금진 제나 가리 유메 란진지 제나 교영 가리 유메 신진지 제나 연대 가리 유메 디나라 진주나라 차상요리나 디나라 요마르스
So normally, when we start giving the teachings on the training of the mind, we always begin with the training, giving the teachings of the 7-point training of the mind. This is the beginning of giving the teachings. This is the actual order. And once one has done that, then one can receive the teachings of the 8 verses of the training of the mind. Because if you look at this verse, it's just very short, and it doesn't really explain and how do we cultivate equalizing and exchanging self with others. Although the main emphasis is on this, but it doesn't actually elaborate, teachings on equalizing and exchanging self with others, as we find in the Guide to the Buddhist of Life.
Lo khalele majana tandang garanzo ran tinji shu chimbudi gala yu tabe gandela ya ne tobya kebyala susula ya ran tinji parlo tangure jin jin bu jingure slawe na khadula ya be hang sa ko ya le ji kije to jirwa chedi zambala to skale ko yores.
Sometimes, if this subject matter is very new to one side, then this material may become a little bit challenging for us, because it says one should let go of oneself, one's own concern, and one, let go of self-cherishing and cultivating and cherishing for the welfare of other beings. It's something that really becomes unimaginable for us, because our mind is very much directed towards self-cherishing and neglecting the welfare of other, cherishing for the welfare of other beings.
아니 딘데데 지리데 그랑가랑서 지속하나 통지고라라야 아니 지비체도 내가 치기 랑게 배 김상게 내가 도 6단지 지비체도 내가 친 지비체도 깔래 자게다 미마체도 내가 쪽이 암지 이나래 고티 이나래 미마 규마 이나래 대도 상만 미상말로 등아 단계 지고래 랑게 김상 내가 자체와 미마게 체도 내가 치기 도서야 지 또고서다 간이게 체도 많이 봐는데 미마체도 내가 지기를 참말로 가고 지야 돼. 그 라진지 숙충충제 신진지 숙충부제자 안데서 연구요래서.
So this can be understood by looking at our day-to-day interaction with other people. Whatever we do, we're always focusing on our own self and concern for ourselves and cherishing for ourselves. There are not many people that we could find unconditionally working for the welfare of other sentient beings. And this is how our mindsets are. We have such a mindset that really focuses on one's own needs rather than needs of other sentient beings. So therefore, suddenly when we hear about the teachings such as, neglecting one's own, needs and working for the welfare of other sentient beings may find a little challenging for us.
아니야. 다 말한서 로존 치기막에 담보 시간 시대 대여라.
그래서
다네 신지 담제라 이신도 볼래라고 대조를 선바이 다도 제벌 짐바 쇼 생란적이 교야 대교고요. 하기 자외진나라 다도 기벌 짐바 럽스네 도서 럽스데 잠발라 텔레야 데 다도 기벌 짐바 텔레게 삼로 당거레스 럽스도 자베트다
No.
근데 이제 잠발야 로조 세계마게 시간 당보대 가르르에서나 아니 다니스도 계실랑당바 코란기 아니 마좀 나게 타다냐 베 심진 탐지 봐 심진 어다 이아니 지메 튼루 가르이나 상말로 아니 콘솔라야 아니 따단데 간제 따기 임베스나 콘솔라야 따단데 간제 따기 임베스나 이식의 노블레를 하베 봐 이식의 노블레를 하고지 따기 심지 되돌아 이식의 노블레를 하고지 콘솔라야 따기 따고야 중지 가르에서나 심진 퇴졸라 때문에 내 된다 친구지 죽두고도 없어. 된다 친구지 죽두고도 없어. 제상 퇴졸라 이식 노블을 하고 딱이 있어. 근데 이식 노블을 하고 인디 좀 발이야. 심지 퇴졸 상말로야 가르래. 뒤 딱벌 뒤 따도 아니 콘솔레야 배 제벌 집에 상바지마도 지기 퇴졸파 예와 더야 딘데게 서버 매워셔 대주 트위터버 대주 집을 좀 봐셔서 딘데게 담멸랑스나다 로진스기 메디스 요레스 시간 당보되게
So here we'll begin. We'll read the first verse of eight verses. The first verse is with the determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings, whose service is even a wish-granting jewels. I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Right? So now here Kishananditamba has written this based on his own experience, based on his own realizations, that this is how he looked at other sentient beings. All sentient beings as equal, without, regardless of what kind of race, ethnicity, color, and whether it be it as animal or insects, and down to insects, in other words, every sentient beings, the way he look at all sentient beings is equal, but rather looking at them as even highest, wish granting gem. It surpasses even the wish fulfilling gems, wish fulfilling jewels. And the reason why Kishilaratamba stated that while we had to look at our sentient beings as a wish, even greater than wish fulfilling gem, wish granting jewels, is because by relying upon sentient beings, what he has stated is that I have, gained a highest accomplishment. And my highest accomplishment is materialized by depending upon other sentient beings. It is for this. May I always look at all sentient beings as even more than wish fulfilling jewels.
이식이 누구세야디 답이지 자가게 담유 저거지면도 이식이 누구세야디 아니 니마 이식이 누구세지 누구지 전에 누구디 아니 치워숨다 죽었음 되대체 간증이 점을야 따 안될래야 취법체비나 아니 세그 너를롱주 가르이나 아니 콜라티지 친구 요레스 내 시와다 세진와다 근데 가르침이나 코네 연구 요레스 근데 시스지 요레스
The wish granting jewel is something that we find in the ancient Indian legends, where the wish fulfilling gem it's really hard to find. If one is managed to get hold of this, and by polishing it and and cleaning it, then one can by doing that, one will be able to gain all these resources, such as wealth, uh, fame, and everything that the prosperity will be accomplished out of having this wish fulfilling gem, and also will pacify one's sickness and will have long life.
이나디 루규나그레메 도탄다 요마레스.
It looks like this such wish granting gem is merely confined in the legend itself.
딘데치데즈 말이야. 기실란다 뭐 거랑게 딘데기 노부 딘데지레 아니 조와신지데서 노부 텔레 노부 딘데지레 안에 사고발이야. 아니 제버징기 이승부레스. 이 제버징고야게 김신디 가르스나 아니 조와신지 더솔라 땡제 아니 된초도 저거지 두두고도 숨고 열레스. 된초도 저거데 가르스나 아니 된초 데 가르스나 아니 산제고 고바데 찬주고 고바데레스 데 아니 조와신지라 땡제 두두고도 현다 이신도부터 저기 자원인의 두두고면도 아니 조와신지 대솔라 땡제 아니 된초 아니 찬 산제고 고바데 두두고도 데 투비하게 준제 가르스나 아니 조와신지 대솔라 가서 그래 땡제 아니 대솔라야 담보 장바지 아니 되네 닝지 로타 준제 명아 등거잖아 아니 다 대솔라와네 다 대솔라 잠닝지기 안 대제라야 아니 대솔라 찬주고 심기 찬주고 심 대게 받을라 되네 아니 티바치별 남라슈 티바치별 남대소름지 줘네 아니 심지 탐제게 돼도 산제고 고바토고 여자 조와심지 대솔라 닝지 마지나나 안 찬주고 심기 때라 요 말레스 딘데 손자 안 조와르도 심지 대소 나랑 산제고 고마 토바치벌 매도 미루와레 샤스 제자 조와르도 심지 탐제 이식의 노골레라고 하는 게 제버징기 이스테데 숨브레스.
So it is therefore right from the beginning of teachings of the 8 verses of training the mind, where he has stated, with the determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings, who surpasses even a wish fulfilling angels, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings. This highest welfare of all sentient beings here refers to the complete state of enlightenment. That is what is meant by highest, welfare for all sentient beings. So therefore, one should cherish sentient beings as even more than wish granting gems, wish granting jewels, because the highest aim, which is state of complete enlightenment, is accomplished, is actually materialized by depending upon other sentient beings. And how do we, accomplish this highest aim of the complete state of enlightenment? Is based on practice of love, compassion, and then finally to bodhicitta. One then becomes a true Mahayana practitioner, then venturing on the Mahayana path, and step by step, then finally be able to gain the state of enlightenment. So if you look at all of these practices, as we mentioned earlier about the practice of love, compassion, bodhicitta, are all developed, all materialized by depending upon other sentient beings. And it's because of this one will be able to gain the highest aim of complete state of enlightenment. And such accomplishment will not happen if one has a, wealth that surpasses all the wealthy people in this world. So therefore, instead of saying this wish fulfillment joy, we will say wealth will be more suitable and that's more comprehensible for us. So therefore, such accomplishment can happen by engaging in those practices. All those practices can be developed by depending on other sentient beings.
세상 지려서는 심지 담지 제벌 진세야 그 로데 아니 단단 가랑솔로 춘 제두고 말에 가르스는 가랑솔 로데 차단도 올라 쇼네 심지 카시엘라야 차바지 카시엘라 당와지 딘데체네 잔이 파르마 숨기 심지 잔잔지 통네 아니 가랑솔로 단다 심지 담지 제벌 진베 로데 끼고 말했어.
So this cherishing, the genuine cherishing for the welfare of other sentient beings is something that is very difficult for us to cultivate, to be honest, because we are remaining under the power of attachment and aversion. And we have a tendency of looking at other sentient beings in 3 different ways. And the some beings considering as one's own close ones and whom we love, and there are beings whom we hate, there are beings whom we ignore. And those are the 3 ways of looking at other sentient beings that is, is present in our mind from the beginning of this time. And then it is not easy for us to get rid of that. Therefore, it requires a rigorous and consistent practice to cultivate the genuine cherishing for the welfare of other beings.
심지 탐지 제벌 진베 로 장단되라 아니 니 요레스 대림버체는 장리야 제야지리 모도지 카드 코랄이야 심지 탐지라 제베 진베 로 게두게 말이라 제나야한테 야보지 템보 야보지 요 말레스 아니 로 장단되니 아니 균데 민가 되메고네 장단치다 다시 냠지고네 장단치 니 요레스.
So there are 2 practices of cultivating genuine cherishing for the welfare of other sentient beings. So without following either one of this practice, just by wishing and thinking of cultivating cherishing for the welfare, genuine cherishing for the welfare of other sentient being will not happen. So those 2 practices which enables us to cultivate the cherishing for the welfare of other sentient beings is the practice of 7-point cause and effect practice of bodhicitta and equalizing and exchanging self with others.
균데 민가 되메고네 로 장야데 라야 아니 ngaranzogi tanyengi cho ni yakshu de amares 제자 균데 민가 되고네 로 장야데 아니 심지 담지 랑게 아마이바 아마 진요와 딘데지기 상로 방고 요레스 딘데기 상로 단주 좀 발에 심지 담지 랑게 아마 아니 이버 drutu구를 베스나 아니 drutu기 요레스 간드레스나 랑 단데 계워들 계망아마 지 요레스 야 텔랑아마 지 요디 좀 발에 되네 야직 또 구주나 아니 계왕아마 장기 메나마지 요레스 티 장기 메나와 요디 좀 발에 딩에기 참말로라야 아마르리 요레스 아마르리 제자가라 아니 사자 텔라 계월레 마뇽스야지다 심진 대 계월레 마뇽스 시두야 자원이네 요 말레스 아니 심진 대게 아마 제마 요 말레스 랍투야 자원이네 요 말레스 심지 찔러 주고주네 제자 랑게 계월 장기 메나와레 대게 아마데 장기 메나와레 아 심지 리리게 랑게 아마 장메바 제요레 제인이 심지 되게 정말로 랑게 아마 집에 가서 미이나다 두두 심지 이나다 가리이나 아마 집에 가서 랑라 빼이마세 텐치 백장 요레스.
So now, speaking about the practice of 7-point cause and effect. The 7-point cause and effect, the practice begins with recognition of all other sentient beings as one's own mother. Generally, mother is said to be the most dear to us, all of us, in general. There's no other beings who is more dear to us other than one's own mother. So therefore, mother is taken here as an example of how we actually, cultivate the, cherishing for the wealth of other beings. To begin with, recognition of mother as one's own, all sentient beings as one's own mother. And why would we say all sentient beings cherishing, recognition of all other sentient beings as one's own mother? It's because now, according to Buddhism, when we talk about our life is said to be a beginningless. There is no such life that we could pinpoint as a beginning. It is a beginningless life. From the beginningless time up until now, we have taken in millions and billions of rebirths. And while we're taking those rebirths, we all are born from our own mother, isn't it? And there's no such place that we can comfortably claim that I have not taken rebirth in that particular place. There is no such single sentient beings that we can comfortably claim that this person or this animal or this beings have not been my mother in the past. Because we talk about the beginningless of our life. So now, since one is able to recognize all sentient beings as one's mother, then now that alone is not enough now. What we should do is think about their kindness. Just as one's own mother had been so kind, the most kind person to us in our life. Similarly, all those mothers of the past has been kind to oneself. It is for this, the practice of 7-point cause and effect begins from recognition of recognizing all sentient beings as one's own mother.
어딘데 젠데네 걔네 심지 탐제 당보란 게 아마이바 딘데스 바 삼로당 삼로 양골 짜고 지는 땅 아니 심지 탐제 랑게 아마이바제 딘데스 바 하호연데 담발야 다 딘데 제수는데 콘조비 날아야 아마 집에 값서는 심지 미 둔주 창말로 당가랑 좀 미게 통야 연교들이 창말로가 진지 장게 열어와 안 딘데게 진장 받을래야 당가랑 쪽이 텔레파 진들바 렌지 마제나나 진을 레마제게 안에 가사들에 탑도버지 탑교버지다 시체버지 요마와 진장 가는 쪽에다 대조 파마도설라야 심진 대조라야 파티 렌지 제고도 쇠인데 진지 장차자 파티 렌지 제고도 설와 파티 렌지야 돼 안에 진 쳔바제 당보 안에네 안에 진 소와들라야 안에 가르치고 그래서나 다 심지 대조 정말 단다 건조 아니 지 가서 그래 묘몽 배왕도 손에 되자시다 디모 왕게 손에 커베 동에 나조 버지 용대기도 건조라야 아니 대백감면도 재성하게 아니 건조 대지 참지 아니 지 가서 그래 대화다 대로 제나냐베 참바고 심지 담제라 대화다 대로 제나 심지 대주도 뭐로 기부지 대화지 용로 제나 선배 참바고 대지리야 심지 대조 참제야 동네당 대로 제나 아냐베 닝지고 심지 찌게 말로 발아 닝지 첨부지고 닝지 첨부 대지라야 아니 다 심지 대담제 아니 대화다 덴바다 동네다 대화지 다 나랑게 자고 살이 선배 학섬지기 한 학섬 뒤에 장에 다 심지 담지 동네다 대화다 덴베 산지게 살아 나랑게 거바 지기니 대지 동네 산지게 고마 토바 지기니 냐바데 아니 자주 그 심지스 아 어디에 자주 심지야 깨운데 아니 심지 담지를 제버지 못해 되네 전에 안에 고존이 연구 요래스 대지 버터부터 단지레스 다들 돌두지체.
So having recognized all sentient beings as one son mother, then one should remember their kindness. Just as we discussed earlier, that there's no single being who has not been one's own mother in our past. And just as the present mother who has been so kind to us all, so too all those beings have been kind to us when they were my mother. So with this in mind, remembering the kindness in the mother's kindness in one's mind, then one should the next step is to repay their kindness. The third one is to repay their kindness. And repaying having, a genuine motivation of repaying their kindness is to overcome suffering and achieve happiness. Wishing a genuine wish to, genuine wish of happiness upon all other sentient beings, which is the practice of love. That is the actual practice of love. May all sentient beings be happy, have happiness and cause of happiness. This will then lead to may all sentient beings be free from sufferings, which is the practice of compassion. And this will then be followed by all this happiness. May I myself take this responsibility for the happiness of other sentient beings and overcoming of all others. All the sufferings of sentient beings, this is what is known as the practice of resolute intention. And having completed those practices, well then finally, may I establish all sentient beings to the state of complete enlightenment. It is for this purpose, may I achieve complete state of enlightenment solely for the benefit of all other sentient beings. And this is a very brief introduction of 7-point cause and effect practice of bodhicitta.
아니 직디 다 그래서 그래 심지 탐지를 집어주면 로치단 직디 아니 단다 진중나라 요게 다시 냠지게로 되레스 대 간데레스나 아니 탐 심지 탐지 냠고 요레스 냠이야데 간데뇽고 직부직경 속고 요레 심지 탐지 직부직경 간데 속고레스나 아니 단다랑라야 자치기 심지 되죠 땐도 자르베스는 말레스 심지 대중님마 랑라야 초불로도 마니 텐데체네 수술을 가고 니부 체뇨레스 단다 수술에 야 야보치게 되죠 야 땐도 대 야보들에서는 말이야 그 카드 뒤가실 야 자치면 심지 담지 찍버찍야레스 찍티가네제 이 심지 담지 대화되고 찍버리 동네에 되고 찍버리 제자 심지 담지 찍버찍야레샤스 말아 야보치게 된 말아 도자치게 심지 담지 자다 얘기 되게 가서 그래 조리지야면도 아니 대화되고도 동네 믿고 찍버리자 제상 심지 담지 찍버찍야레 샤세 땅용게 심지 공부 요레스 뭐
So then the next practice of achieving the genuine cherishing for the world for the sentient beings is equalizing the exchanging self with others, which is with the teachings that we found, that can be found in Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Shantideva. So this practice begins with equalizing self with others. Equalizing self with others is that looking at all sentient beings as equal as possible. As we mentioned earlier, that's not as someone as one's enemy and cultivate, having it, generating hatred towards those, and someone being one's own, someone who's close to me and one's loved ones, and having that too much attachment towards them, and beings that we are actually ignoring and not being any considerations, not having any consideration of those beings. And one should, eradicate that kind of thoughts. Because if you look at the individual who may consider as one's enemy, may not have been enemy for forever. This person may have been really great, has been very caring and loving for oneself. Even in this life, each person may become one's best friend in the future, and this person will never remain as one's enemy forever. Similarly, if someone whom we have too much attachment towards, thinking that person is my best person, or someone whom I love very dearly, will not remain as you think. It may change and become an enemy for oneself. So this is something that is always changing from one moment to another. It changes. So therefore, there's no such things that we can really think of as someone as an enemy, or remain as one's enemy for forever, or someone who is being a person who's remaining friend for forever. So with this kind of, cultivating this kind of state of mind will really enable us to cultivate an equalizing self with others.
아니 다 되레제네 아니 심지 담제 땅님 검사회 질이야 다 심지디 단지디 찍버리 아니 동네다 되나 가서 대화다 되나냐면 참봐 에 동네다 되나냐면 인지기 여러분 인지기 대비 심지디 다 가서 그래 심지디 담제 아니 랑스디 직 신스디 신스디 배 타예봐 자체뭐 되레제디 다 수익이 대화대 개직을 했으나 신심지 탐지게 대화대 개직도 고소 배타에 말이자 나란지 레자 전에 근데 나란게 대화래 신게 대화대 두비야대 개체와 두섬야대 다 다시 재화되지 다 더들어고 되는데 대본에 전주 심기 안내 산지에 살 줘야 될야다 다시 냠지시기 요레스
So then here, just how we can logically how important it is to think of the welfare of other sentient beings, isn't it? When we think about self, we're just one individual. When we think about other sentient beings, it is innumerable. We're thinking about infinite beings, and whose welfare is more important, logically thinking. Logically speaking, one person's welfare is more important, or the thousands and hundreds and thousands of people's welfare is more important. So this is the reason why the teachings, Guide to the Bodhisattva teachings emphasizes on equalizing and exchanging self with others, importance of equalizing self with others. And and emphasizing on, cherishing for the welfare of all other sentient beings. So,
어디 손도 좀 발에 아니 신지 탐지가 맞세 신지 리야 이식은 노벌에 라고레스 근데 인도 좀 발에 기실러를 담하기 신지 탐지라 이식 노벌에 라고 아니 따고레스 마 송야 되다 다 랍스디 좀 발에 가라로 따고레스 가라로 송부레스 대송야 돼 아니 근지 매와 말이라 근지 양타와 근데 지레스 데링기 지가 시 안데르지다
그래서
자와지네
So by understanding all these reasonings that we talked earlier, then this verse, the first verse, really makes sense to us, right? Kichilarita was the first verse of the training the mind, which is with determination to accomplish the highest welfare for all sentient beings whose surface receive and wish granting joy. I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Makes sense. Otherwise, we just just mere reading it without knowing why this is, then it may not make sense to us.
근데 자와지 더 먼저 뒤버리지 유나
So this lesson will stop with this. If you have questions, we'll take a few questions and then. Michael. Yes, sir.
Why is it that in the world bad things have much more ability to stay than good things?
나는 저번에 대강이야 독스테븐에 약도인이 나네 누가 되게 돼 그런 것이 균승이야 치워봐다 균승이야 들이야 누가 돼 균승이야 시다 아니 야가 되셔야 균승만 더 있어 가르쳐 버렸다
아네
됐어
베지 계란게 단다디 가서 그래 도어디 유정원 다 유정원 대도고도 다 야가디 유통원 또 대도고 말했어야 돼 계란 간절해지는 뺄는 이유나 페지 치다데 야와데 정말 요랬어 윤디 정말 요랬어 간에데이나 빼는 차샤위나 뒤에 거마야 말한서 비지 지딘디 간라야 다지 가서 그래 몇개 자친구 망고 쉬우든지 말래 요랬어 개보다 들리지 개라 친구 망고 쉬우질래 요라 이나한테 조다디 우선 로규직다 아니 지 건조기 잘라닌 거래도 좋다 쯤된 거나 지다 되게 개별에 다서 따야지만도 믿어 답변을 차샤위나 지다 신나게 좀 봐도 수당에 지 하고 오면 나베 좀 봐다 말한 속에 산지 좀 된데 지금 로규 잘라라고 되게 다야 요말다 공기 송딩 아주 롱주전에 단다 기부 지동 못 볼라데 핑계 여러 왔어 지체디 야와도 또 정하면 됐어
So I would say that when it comes to the sustenance of the bad and bad and a good, the good sustenance, it sustains more for me. What that is saying. For instance, let's take a very simple example of there have been a great warriors and great kings and great ministers and whatever. And now, and those have lived certain period of time and they become so famous in whatever they have done. And then we can only hear their name and their stories. And we may see some of their articles and their ancient objects or the tools that have been used by them in a museum, and we just go and watch that. But when it comes to the good thing about the teachings given by the great beings in the past, such as my own experience at the Buddhist teaching, although it has been teachings given more than 2,500 years ago, the teaching is still alive. And that good thing is really stays longer. and it's still alive, and it still helps other sentient beings.
예, 배지 경으로 보지 성구요라데 정말 찍고 이래. 덤바 성마 단다 이슈 덤바 다다 남베 덤바 담오라 랍자 찍버레스. 따두 카가레 랍자 찍버 미 성마 야보 찍버레 따두 랍자 디 찍버레스기도. 승다 어디 배지 단 랍자 덤바 성마 랍자 찍버 랍자 성마 나샤제디 디냠레 찍이 밀라 쇼지 핑게요라.
The reason why I'm saying the good things live longer is because all those teachings are given by the great beings, such as be it as the teachings of Christianity, the teachings of Hinduism or the Buddhism, whatever the teachings that may be. All of those teachings that emphasizes on one thing. The common teachings are to be good person, right? Be a helpful person, and that is the common teachings. But although there are differences in their philosophical standpoint, there's philosophical viewpoint, but when it comes to the advices on being a good person is common to all of those teachings. So therefore, these teachings are given thousands of years to be good and good teachings, and is still alive, and not only alive, is thriving.
So if you're, evil's like gravity and good is like flying. So if you want to escape gravity, you constantly have to work and fly away.
그래서 두베들 그 지구 예대서 제가 야가들 그 양모를 시지 거야 예대를 시도했어. 근데 제가 들려.
네.
그런 간을
다 누가다 야와서야 돼. 나라도 미지조를 찍으라. 미지조를 찍는데 좀 말이야. 두어 지기도 정갈로 돼라. 걔네 내내는 두어 지원을 못 지기도 설래. 지소가로 로바라 겁니다. 개장을 하래요. 야보치기도 미청으로 그 가보치기도 홀라야 미청으로 거의 야보요래 빼래 미야보요래 신나게 된 야보치기를 그 암지 야보요래서 청으로 홀라야지 가서 야자한도 두지도 두어지기들 자기라 합니다.
So the thing is that there's also a way that we identify what's considered to be evil and what is considered to be how they call the good or the evil or the good. How do we, which one that we consider as evil? If we say that someone who's being so bad, someone who's been behaving very bad, and sometimes, even though that we are not physically and verbally being bad, but we're also cultivating such a bad motivations, and the evil is within us, and we're all having this gravities of evils, and it is always with us, and we really don't have to look for others. The both evil and good is within us. So we just, by looking at that, what really, what kind of direction that our negative thought is taking, and what kind of direction our positive thought is taking. And we should examine that and carefully identify these two. And the direction that we are going is we'll make sure that we're going to the right direction. And right and wrong direction should be understood very carefully based on understanding the motivation that we have.
So your bodhicitta, you can do the same action, and if your motivation is wrong, it can have two different results.
When we same action with bodhicitta?
Well, if I say prayers because I think, that you're doing it, but if you're saying prayers so that other people can see you do prayers.
That's not bodhicitta though.
Right. No, that's the motivation.
Okay.
Right. So I guess that an older question, which I'd like to hear his answer, is that it was taught, if you truly celebrate the interdependency of Buddhism, that it's empty of inherent, there's no independent arising.
Mhm.
If you get to that point, then that is good.
Okay.
When you can, interact, interdependency. When you celebrate interdependency,
Mhm.
that's the way to have good bodhicitta.
그게 그 땡중기 다워지야 오스미야 베나니 그 삼부상 부차야다 근데 그 야도 하고야지 요야부터 고수야 근데 용만으로서
그래. 다들 롭좀도 지우랬어요.
yes this is right it is always good to understand different originations or interdependence. It's something that really makes us something that really makes us understand what direction we should go and what direction we should follow. For that, it really requires a lot of rigorous practices and
Right.
studies.
Thank you.
That's all.
So we should say the dedication prayers, beginning with the prayers on page 23 and 24, and continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Nagi jine sadre gewa de genva doa kunga kanvena kewa jesu dosa keme nyo rindusa seje sho saje uki roshi tonga rani jine nyema sanye shinto mite gowa Drugo nama shinto Kewa kandu alan jame shigi alan juji sada di yote razone toje chagi yopane to shom inam guru rana kala yami Jesuna me kuse raten jing nanga chile chochuri hada losante dibe sasumi Joe Musel Tautomji Agriora Wei Chan Dia Dan Wama Wei Jere Wan Yaso Shape Se Padun Champel Oji Chama Kunzo Sao Te Tela Jesus Daro Kewa Teta Chante Rambo
Yeah.